Holy shit. Hey Phantom friends, and welcome to this very, very special video. So, in one of my earlier videos, I mentioned that we were very close to 1,000 subscribers, and so I wanted to do a special Q&A for a video if that did happen. And I woke up to a notification from YouTube the other day saying, congratulations, you've reached the 1,000 subscriber milestone. And I was just, I'm just absolutely floored. I honestly never expected to reach this point, just because our fandom is, it's not small by any means. There are a ton of people who love Phantom. There's a reason that it is the longest running musical, and it's lasted for so long. And there's not just lovers of the musical, there's lovers of all the different films and other shows besides the Weber. There's a lot to love when it comes to Phantom, and that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, was because I wanted to explore the love for every part of our fandom, because there is so much to it. The Phantom universe is wide, a lot wider than people think it is, and I think if more... That would be my cat. But I think if more people, knew that there was just more to Phantom than the Weber musical, I think that our fandom would grow even more, because deep down, Phantom of the Opera is such a relatable story to so many people. It definitely was to me. It really, really spoke to me, and it's one of the reasons, why it has, the obsession has lasted so long. Most people call it an obsession, when they're talking about me. I definitely say that obsession was how it came off, and how it still sometimes comes off when I talk to people about it. But beneath all that, there wasn't just an obsession. It was a deep love for this story, everything it stood for, everything it taught me and so many other people, and just how much I could relate. Because, while I have no deformities to speak of or anything, even before my Phantom obsession happened, I was never popular. I always dealt with quite a bit of bullying. It really, really started happening around the 4th grade. And it just kind of steadily got worse. And I tried really hard to fit in. I really, really did. But the great thing was, after getting into Phantom and how much it all spoke to me, I didn't care anymore. It just kind of gave me the courage to say, fuck it. I'm just gonna be myself, whether it's, cool or not, whether it ever makes people stop, making fun of me or whatever, or avoiding me, And it did help with the kind of extra bullying that I started facing once I did delve into the actual, obsession, because it definitely hit fast and hard, as I've said in previous videos. So this story means a lot to me, and I think the more people that know about it, that could relate to it, I think the more our fandom could even grow. But, because it's, not everybody is into musical theater, and that's kind of where Phantom is the most well-known and obvious. Not even a ton of people realize there was a novel and how many, movies and stuff there are. Because of that, people hear musical theater and they're like, ew, because it's not for everyone. So I just never really expected the channel to grow the way that it has. Like, I definitely never got into it expecting it to be monetized or anything. I still don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but I'm okay with that. But the main thing is just the fact that I can't believe we are at 1,000 Phantom friends. That so many of us that love this story have gathered in one place to share our, our mutual love for not just the Weber musical, but the story in general. And I am so thankful. And, you guys made this happen. You made the choice to subscribe. I didn't force that on anybody. You could have come in here and just totally hated my content. But, you guys have given me so much love over the past 2 years. I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's really amazing, and I just want to thank every single one of you and just tell you how much I appreciate that, not only are you supporting me, but you're supporting each other within this community. We've tried to, get away from some of these communities where things get really toxic and people are shaming each other for things that they like in the Phantom universe that other people don't. But so far, I feel, like this community that we have here on this channel has been a very supportive one. For all fans to share what they love and what inspires them within Phantom and not be judged for it. Because that's what I wanted this to be ultimately, was to be a place where we could all just share our love for this without any rolling eyes from friends and family members or strangers, So, now that we have 1,000 Phantom friends all here together, I feel like I'm starting to accomplish that goal, and that just brings me so much joy. I did this to bring Phantom fans together. I did this to have a place for me to kind of vent my Phantom rants to people who actually might kind of care a little bit and actually might want to listen, as opposed to torturing my friends and family. I just feel like I've accomplished that now. It's still growing, and I never thought that was gonna happen. I mean, I just am so happy that I've been able to get so many Phantom fans in one place. But, so, thank you. Thank you so much, for your support. I'm over the moon right now. So, I told you in one of my earlier videos that we were going to do a, Q&A, in celebration. And so now we are going to get to that part. All right. To kick things off, first off, Ying and Yang asks, what are your thoughts on the 2004 version and how are the cosplays going? First of all, the cosplays are going well. As you all know, I finished the Hannibal cosplay and I plans to work on the dressing gown and the stage masquerade gown next. I usually do like one per year because they do get very expensive. But I think I'll be starting with the dressing gown next, and I'm very excited. Second part of the question, the 2004 version. I know I have not yet done a review on this, which shocks a lot of people. The reviews have been coming very slowly. I have to dedicate a lot of time and energy to those, which I just have not had since I started school, and I'm sorry about that, but I'll give you kind of my basic, my thoughts here. I have a very strong love-hate relationship with the movie. I am very, very glad that it exists, because although it doesn't live up to a lot of our standards, it did bring in a whole new generation of Phantom fans that, might have thought, oh, musical theater, ew, and never had the chance to see it. But, to have it in the mainstream, Hollywood, just total blockbuster, it just made it available to so many more people. And although I really don't feel the greatest about the casting, and I wish that another version existed where there was more traditional Phantom casting. I do think it was necessary for this film to exist, because it is kind of a slow introduction to the more legitimate operatic sound that the stage version offers, that, again, your average Joe might not be into. I wasn't at that age. When the movie first came out, I thought musical theater was stupid. I had no interest in seeing it, and because the voices were a little bit more rock and a little bit more lighter, from Christine's standpoint, I feel like it eased me into the genre, and I feel like it eased a lot of people into the genre, and my Phantom taste just kind of grew. As I got into it, I started appreciating more legitimate voices and, stuff like that, and now I'm into full-fledged opera. Phantom isn't actually an opera, but it's what planted the seed. And it was a very slow but effective transition. And I do believe this movie needs to exist. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. I do not particularly like the way it was cast. I am okay with Gerard Butler, which surprises a lot of people, for, kind of what they were going for. It's kind of Emmy Rossum's voice that I have the problem with. And I will go into more detail about that in my actual review. So I'll save the rest for the actual review, which I will do eventually. Dale Patterson asks, how did you get interested in Phantom of the Opera? Well, kind of as I just said, it was the 2004 film adaptation of the musical. And to some Phantom fans are really happy about stuff like that, and then some Phantom fans are like total gatekeepers and like, ew, oh my god, the movie, really? But I evolved through, what I started with. But it all started with my mom. I'll give you the full story because it's really actually a really long story, so I'll give you the link up there to one of the first videos I ever did, which explains literally the full-length story of how my Phantom love obsession came to be. But overall, the summary, it was my mom, and she showed me the movie when I was in like 7th grade, I think. Like, it had just come out on DVD. She had rented it from Blockbuster. God, I feel old. And she was literally about to walk out the door with it to take it back, and she stops and is like, Emily, you should watch this. You might like it. And I just think that was just the funniest, just most fateful phrase, and just, I love it. I love that it makes me laugh every single time. Okay, Josh Donahue asks, do you think the story of Poto could lend itself to a modern setting? My answer for that is definitely no. I don't think that it really... I mean, you would have to change a lot about the story in order to make it work in a modern setting, I feel, and you would have to make, I feel like you'd have to make Christine very shallow. I feel like Eric would also have to be a lot more awful of a person, and because the thing is, we're so much more tolerant of, people who look different and are different nowadays than we were back in the 1800s. And so we would have to make Christine a lot more shallow, and one of those people that do care about appearance a lot. And I think that kind of ruins the story, because it also kind of ruins the struggle that she faced. It's the idea of finding inner beauty is still relevant, but if you want to keep Phantom truly the way it was meant to be, then I feel like it doesn't translate super well to modern day. You would have to make a lot of changes that would, I feel, kind of mess with the story a little too much. And I know that Universal is planning on doing that, allegedly. I actually really hope they don't, because they were going to start that whole Dark Universe thing that was supposed to get canned, but they may still be doing the Phantom film regardless. So I don't know how I feel about that, other than I would really rather they didn't and did a more, like just a remake of the 1925 film. Hannah Berman asks, how do you feel about Phantom fan fiction, specifically the ones about Eric and Christine as a couple, and do you find that some writers make her more compassionate, and do you think the writer made the choice to have Christine choose Eric based on her own judgment? I did a video analyzing Christine as well, so if you want a more in-depth explanation than what I'll give here, then I will also link that one. I personally love Phantom fanfiction. I think that it's a great way for people who were not satisfied with the ending to kind of vent, the idea that they think that Christine should have ended up with Eric, and I think it's entirely plausible. I think sequels are entirely plausible. Not the story of Love Never Dies. I feel like that was not properly executed, and there were so many other fan fictions to use as a plot. Anyway, I think they're great. And, as a teenager, I wrote some of my own. I wrote a full-fledged novella when I was 16. It has never seen the light of day. I have never sent it to a publisher, and certainly never will. But I do think that some writers make Christine more compassionate, and I think that happens pretty often. I think I see them usually making her realize, I don't like my life without him, and I made a mistake, and Raoul usually ends up being like a drunk or something. That's a pretty big trope that tends to happen. And do you think the writer made the choice to have Christine choose him based on her own judgment? I think yes. Usually in these stories, when Christine does go back in these particular types of fan fiction, it usually is I think very much I did not appreciate what I had when I had it, and she gets very justifiably disillusioned by her relationship with Raoul, because it was kind of such a whirlwind thing, and she did, I feel, kind of run to Raoul out of fear, because she was just so, she just did not know what to do. Again, I go much more in depth in my other video. But So yes, I do think that in most it's definitely her own judgment, because she just kind of grew up a little bit more and she spent enough time with Ral to realize this isn't what I thought it was. And stuff like that. I didn't realize how much he had changed since we were 14, as people do. So, yeah, I'm happy fan fiction exists, and I continue to read it all the time. Sometimes I come across ones that are really disturbing, but I have one review that I will be doing on one of those. Kate Colton asks, "Hey Emily, could you do a video analyzing the Phantom? And also, what's your favorite Phantom version? Basically of any kind." Well, I do plan to do a video analyzing the Phantom. That is another video that's going to take a lot of time and energy to do because he is so complex. And I did write a almost thesis type, essay type thing, several years ago about him as a person and mental health conditions that I feel he suffered from. So I might go back and try and find that and use a lot of that to get the ball rolling on that, because even the one on Christine, it was very exhausting because the characters are so complex. It takes a lot for me to really thoroughly explain my analysis. And my favorite Phantom version, it's kind of tough. I really can't compare apples and oranges, so I have to say it's actually, for books, a tie between the original LaRue novel and the Susan Kay novel. I think they both bring very different but very necessary and feelings and aspects that we really need as Phantom fans to fully grasp this story and what it's truly trying to tell us. So it's really crazy that I really do love Susan Kay's novel that much, despite some of its imperfections. I do think that was a very important part of the novel-esque fandom that has happened. My favorite musical is definitely the Weber. I do love some of the other ones, and I hate some of the other ones, but the Weber, like most people, is my favorite. Movie is the 1925 silent film. That's the one that's gotten the best review so far of the reviews that I have done. I just think it depicted LaRue's novel so well, save for the ending. And absolute favorite. Again, I really can't compare apples and oranges here. So I just kind of have to make decisions on a basis by basis, but I am a very big LaRue fangirl. I can be a big LaRue elitist, and I admit it. So maybe that's really the answer in the end. Lucia Belish? I'm assuming that sounds very Eastern European, and I'm currently learning how to speak Czech for a song that for an aria that I'm doing in college. I don't know for sure, and so I'm probably butchering your name, and I'm sorry. But her question is, if you get to play a character from Phantom, which would it be? 100% Christine. I relate to her on a psychological level a lot, and she really represents the person that I used to be, and that I grew up and kind of grew out of and grew up to be, because she also grows throughout the course of the story. And so I see the same growth as a person and her mindset changing as what happened with me in my life. So I relate to her a lot, and that's one of the main reasons for that. I also would not object to playing Carlotta, but I don't think I have a big enough voice for that role, so. Stargirl247, her question: what version of Phantom did you listen or watch to get into Phantom, and who would be your favorite Phantom singer? Okay, well, we already addressed how I, the first thing I watched / listened to, and that was the '04 film. But my favorite Phantom singer, for the Phantom himself, that's a hard one. I would actually say it's a 4-way tie between Anthony Warlow, Howard McGillen, Jeremy Stoll, and Hugh Pinero. It's very hard for me to pick a favorite there. I love all of their voices, and then I love all of their acting choices as well, which can very much contributes to how I feel about them as a Phantom. Tony Lee asks, have you read Roseblood by A.G. Howard? And have you thought about reviewing books on your channel? The answer to the second part of your question, yes, I will be reviewing books. I probably plan to do Susan Kay's novel first. And then also, of course, I will do the original novel. And then I've got some actually really bad fan fiction, like printed fan fiction that actually is sold in stores. That was just... that just scarred me for life. But I feel needs to be reviewed. But I have not read Roseblood, but I've heard a lot about it, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on it, and from the summary, I don't feel that I'm going to enjoy it, but it should make for a very interesting review. Travis Moser? So this guy, this really funny, on the discussion, tab in, on the channel, so far I have one person who's, trying to do a pickup line, and then, someone made some kind of request that was, I think, kind of strange or something like that. I can't remember. But this guy's actual question that was found in the discussion tab was between acid on the face and the circus freak show, homicidal circus freak show boy. Which do you prefer? I'm a little confused by the question, but I'll answer it the way I think, what I think you're asking. I like it more when he's born that way. And, you know, it's obviously not a mystery in that sense, but I think that it adds more to the history of Eric and what all he went through his whole life, just having been born so different. The acid on the face situation, I don't mind it, but I think that Eric's childhood and the trauma that he faced there greatly contributed to his actions throughout his life and makes him a little bit more sympathetic of a character, which I like a lot more. And I also, as far as the homicidal circus freak show boy, I really like it when they don't have Eric killing someone every 5 minutes, when it's more of a little bit more of a self-defense thing. Now, granted, a lot of the, murders in Persia, that was him working for the government. But to me, it feels like some of the other murders that he, allegedly committed were almost out of self-defense. Joseph Buqueza, an iffy one, but according to the book, we don't even actually know if it was Eric. Susan Kay's novel portrays it as an accident, and Eric just moves the body and lets everybody blame it on him, basically, because he's like, well, it's gonna make people more afraid of me. So, I generally don't like it when Eric is, like, super homicidal, because that's not how he is in the book. Leading blind. Hey, girl, you are a very frequent one on this, in this comment section. So, what are your favorite fanfic tropes, or your least? We'll start with the least favorite. I hate it, again, when Eric is super, super psycho, and not a sympathetic character. And when they make it out to be, like, a really big, like, horror story. I also absolutely loathe when the relationship between Eric and Christine is really, really overly sexual. And it's, like, I can't stand that type of fan fiction. I'm just not that way. You know, call me a prude, but I think it takes away from the story when there's like sex scene after sex scene after it's bad writing, it's bad form. The more subtle mystery and everything of him being very seductive and her, you know, fighting the feelings, I think is a lot better writing and a lot more just I just think it's just better story writing. I feel like we don't need all that. But those are probably my big ones.
Stop it. Get some help.
But my favorite fanfic tropes, that would be when Raoul changes a lot after they run away together and he becomes, like, abusive or drunk. As awful as that sounds, but it shows or he just becomes kind of an asshole in general, because it lends itself to my original analysis of Christine that she met Raoul again after not seeing him since she was 14, okay? In the novel, Christine is 20 years old. Now, in the musical, she's a lot younger. But I go by the novel. So that's a long time. And people change. I know I was not the same person who I was at 14 that I am, you know, that I was at 20. She didn't really have time to get to know who he was then. She just kind of immediately ran to him because she didn't know what else to do, because the situation with Eric was just so scary and so overwhelming, and she was just, like, kind of panicking. So it was a really big whirlwind romance, and I know from personal experience that does not usually end well. And sometimes guys have other motives. And I think that showcasing that mistake that Christine made and just assuming everything was going to be fine and he was the, you know, just as sweet and whatever as, you know, as he was when he was a kid. Because that's just not realistic. And so I feel that when Raoul changes in the sequel, like, fan fictions, that it's just more realistic, and it just kind of proves that, hey, you went about this way too quickly, type of thing. And also when, you know, Christine's removed from this situation, this is the other trope, once Christine's removed from the situation and goes on, you know, even if the relationship with Raoul is still okay, you know, and he's not, like, abusive or a horrible person, when she just starts to kind of realize she did feel a lot more for him than she thought, and he wasn't as terrible of a person as she thought. And she just kind of has more time to reflect and realizes, I fucked up. And starts to really miss him. I really love the fanfiction novel Letters to Eric. Very imperfect writing. Some of it is not the best writing in the world. That's another book that I'll go over. But the overall story, the plot and character motivation and stuff like that, I think was really great, and it actually helps me look over a lot of those egregious grammatical mistakes and stuff like that. So those are probably my favorite. YouFilm asks, can you sing for us? I have actually a couple of times on the channel. I was doing that SMULE Saturday thing for a little bit, which I'll try to get back to when I have more free time. I did Angel of Music and Point of No Return from what I remember. I still need to do All I Ask of You. And the title song, now that I have my E6 back. And I also sang Happy Birthday for Andrew Lloyd Webber on his most recent birthday this year. So if you want a little, snippet of my voice, there's those videos, but I also, I have grown as a singer since then, and so I do I do recitals with my college that are broadcast through Zoom, and if you're in the Tulsa area, they're once the pandemic's over, you can actually come to the actual recital, but they are broadcast on Zoom. And so I actually have one on December 4th at, I believe, 1 o'clock p.m. I'm not 100% sure yet, but there will be a Zoom link available for that if you want to attend that, and there will be more recitals in the future. But so I will be singing Song to the Moon from Dvorak's Rusalka, which it'll be a lot of fun. It's in Czech, so I'm really excited about that. So there will be many opportunities to hear me sing, and on Patreon, I have started posting a lot more of like just my voice lessons and stuff like that. So there's that as well. All right. I wish I could do like every question that I've gotten, but this video is already quite long, and so I'll just I'll do more in the future. Anytime we hit some kind of milestone or something big happens, I don't know. Every once in a while we'll just do a little Q&A. I really enjoy this. I really enjoyed connecting with y'all and letting you get to know me a little bit better. So again, thank you guys so much for, it's you guys are the ones that did it, not me. You got us here. You guys came together as a community and formed a whole new community, within this channel itself, and have been very supportive of each other, and I really, really love that for all of us. So this is, hopefully just the first of many milestones that we make on this channel, but it's definitely one to be celebrated. I love you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and just keep on building this community that I just love so much. Stay fantastic with a PH, and keep your hand at the level of your eyes.